California vineyard owners did quite well during Prohibition. For this reason, there was a little codicil in the Prohibition law that says you could make 200 gallons for your own personal use if you were head of family, head of household. Well, all of a sudden, there is an immense amount of head of household making wine. In fact, the police in the East Coast cities like Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and so forth, they knew when the wine train had showed up because all of the Italian neighborhoods started smelling like wineries. And that's the way it was. California vineyard owners would start shipping grapes to the East Coast. And they might even have a nice little, quote, warning label on top of the grapes that says, do not add yeast or fermentation will occur. Vineyard owners started pulling out grapes that were not good at shipping, didn't look good, and were not big producers. Grapes like Cabernet and Merlot were pulled out. And one that was the most popular of all the vineyard owners was this one called Alicante Boucher. It's kind of a Merlot style with a Grenache basis to it. It was a cross variety by these two French vineyard owners in the 19th century. But the reason why they liked it is that it was a tough grape. It could ship without becoming a mass of juice draining all over the place by the time it got back east. It could ship well. It could hold its own. When you crushed it, it has this deep, dark, beautiful ruby red color to it. A lot of red grapes only come out kind of pinky looking, and when you crush it, like Cabernet Sauvignon, it's the aging that makes them dark deeper and darker. But the Alicante comes out dark and ready to go, and it looks good, so it's a great sales tool, right? The first grapevines were probably from one of the lower missions in Baja California that the Jesuits had started in the late 17th century, early 18th century. They had gotten cuttings from those vines down there, and they were brought up, and because the mission fathers had gone and started missions, they thought, well, look at all these great native wild grapevines growing right around here in San Juan Capistrano. Let's plant the new cuttings there. And that was about 1778. You may ask, well, why didn't they use native grapevines to make wine? Well, being good Mediterranean stock and loving wine as part of life, they tried. But if you ever tried any native California grapevines like Sylvestris, Californicus, Gurdiana, they don't make wine. I mean, it makes some kind of a liquid, but it's not a wine. So these first grape cuttings were probably, I'll put it that way, probably from the Baja California missions. It could have come from other missions inland Mexico. We still don't know that. But the grapevine that they planted has become known as the mission grape. It's satisfied what the Franciscans wanted, but it really doesn't make that good of a wine. It's rather putrid in some ways, but it makes a good Angelica. You ever tried Angelica, or do you know what Angelica means? It's a grape wine liqueur, and it was Angelica. It was called that because it was first made in Los Angeles, so hence the name. But what is also the second important thing about this picture is because it was taken in the late 19th or early 20th centuries, what it is one of the big things was California was this land of opportunity, this land of the sunset, this land that people in the East Coast and elsewhere in the world thought was like the promised land. It was, they literally thought that you could walk around and pick up gold. It was this land that was just beyond human comprehension in many ways, and so therefore so many people wanted to come out here. One of the big impetus to the population growth was the rate wars between the Southern Pacific Railroad and the Central Pacific in Santa Fe in the mid-1880s. They had a rate wars for a couple of years. You could take a train from Chicago or St. Louis to Los Angeles for $1. So people thought, hey, that's pretty good, let's get out there. So there was a huge land boom, a frenzy of people just selling right and left. You've all heard of Lucky Baldwin. He used to own the Arboretum and built that incredible house there. He was a big-time land dealer, promoter. He says, hell, we're selling the climate, the land we're giving away. it was a time of incredible things. People would, there was another quote I read that a man bought this piece of mesquite-covered property, and he's looking at it, and he's a farmer, and he goes, well, he's talking to the real estate agent. He goes, well, what am I gonna raise on this? And the real estate agent says, raise your price to the next seller.